Here we go. Cool. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome and thank you for joining us today. I am here. I'm joined by my colleague from the Central Valley and High Sierras, Emilia Gaitan Reed. Hi, Emilia. Some housekeeping rules. Please make sure that your mic is set to mute at all times. If you have any questions, we'll have a Q&A towards the end of the presentation, and we can go ahead and answer those questions. If you have access or if you are using the Cisco WebEx platform, there is a chat box option for you to use. You can always type in your question there and ask away, and we can also read that towards the end of the presentation during the Q&A. So without further ado, I am pleased to present Mr. Corey Hashimoto and Miss Michaela Hughes from NPower with our first question of the day. So what is your name and what do you do?
Well, first off, I want to thank everybody for attending and inviting myself and Michaela to speak with you. It's always a pleasure to speak with veterans, and I'm happy to be able to present our program to you. My name is Corey Hashimoto. I'm the Recruitment and Admissions Manager for NPower California, and I'm joined alongside by Michaela. Michaela. You're on mute, Michaela.
Sorry. Hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Michaela Hughes. I am the recruiter and social support manager here at NPower California. So I help to support Corey and the team with our recruitment efforts and admissions process, as well as to help students navigate personal and professional barriers and ensuring they have access to community resources.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you guys for being here. And with that, we'll move on to the next question. So if you guys could tell us about who it is that you work for and what is the best thing about your job.
Absolutely. So we represent a company or a nonprofit workforce development program called NPower. NPower is a nonprofit that works with veterans and young adults, as well as veteran spouses, to help train them in IT roles, help prepare them for technology careers, all of which come at no cost to the student. One of the best things that I really love about my job is as a veteran myself, I get to work firsthand with veterans to help them transition from active duty military service to the civilian workforce. And as a veteran, as I said, that is oftentimes a complicated and, often strenuous transition to try and find civilian work and try and get retrained in positions that are very relevant to today's industry. So that's my favorite part about this job, is being able to help guide veterans and their spouses through this process and help them find meaningful and gainful employment here in the tech industry.
Awesome.
That's
Thank you.
awesome. Yes, thank you. And I definitely agree with you being a veteran and being able to assist other veterans and being able to assist them is just a great thing in some of the work that we do. Thanks for that, Corey.
Mm-hmm.
So to add to that, what is it like to work for your company? What's the culture like, the people, and the challenges that it offers?
Yeah, both in the classroom and at work, typically our classes are fairly evenly split between veterans or veteran spouses and young adults. So one of the most unique aspects of what we do is that we create a space where trainees can learn from one another in a structured learning environment. We've often found that while our young adults tend to bring a ton of tech literacy to the table, our veterans and veteran spouses tend to come with a bit more professional experience as well as leadership capabilities. So structuring a class this way gives students the ability to learn from one another and grow in their knowledge and experience. I would say that in my role as a social support manager, some of the greatest challenges our students face take place outside of the classroom, whether that means food or housing scarcity, trouble with accessing affordable internet options, or even unique challenges presented, related to the pandemic. So our wraparound services, I think, aim to help mitigate these challenges so that students can focus on their success within the class.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Michaela. On to the next question. What training opportunities is your company looking to get people to participate in with y'all?
Yeah, that's a great question, Amelia. So I actually will be sharing a slide deck that I prepared to kind of go into a little bit more detail about what NPower does, as well as some of the specifically the tech training that we are currently offering for a class that's starting up in October. So as I mentioned before, that NPower is a workforce development nonprofit. We are a national-based nonprofit, so our headquarters is in New York, and we have 10 different regions throughout the country here. In California being the westernmost, then we have one in Dallas, Texas, Detroit, Michigan, St. Louis, Missouri, Baltimore, Maryland, Brooklyn, Harlem, New Jersey, and Newark as well. So we're pretty much all over the country providing these kinds of tech training opportunities to veterans, no matter what state. So one of the ways that one of our biggest things that we do is provide technical skills for young adults as well as veterans and their spouses to be able to work in the IT industry. This is perfect for those who may not have ever worked in IT before or have never held a tech job. This is a great way for them to get some more contextual awareness about what the industry is asking for, what skills are being demanded, but also help to provide them with a path that'll kind of help guide their careers forward. So IT is such a broad term, so many different fields that you can specialize in, and we hope that through our programs that we are able to provide our trainees with a clear path moving forward upon graduation. So how we do that is, a couple of different things. First off, training. So our training is 16 weeks long. It's completely virtual. So we have students will have the option to choose between a morning cohort from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Or an afternoon cohort from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. That'll go Monday through Friday for 16 weeks. And during that time, they'll be learning all the stuff that they need for entry-level positions in IT, so desktop support, help desk analyst roles. But we're also focusing on a number of other aspects of each trainee's success. We're going to focus on professional development. One day out of each week is devoted to things like resume writing, things like mock interview exercises. We bring in a lot of guest speakers to come and talk to the students as well. We provide as many opportunities as we can for the students to be able to get some more contextual awareness of the industry, as well as the chance to network with some of their peers. A lot of our hiring managers that we bring in will connect with our students on LinkedIn and provide them that kind of additional support once they move forward from the program. We also provide social support services, and I'm going to let Michaela talk a little bit more about that here in a future slide. But basically, we work to address any kind of obstacles that any of our trainees are facing during the classroom that would otherwise take their attention away from their studies. So that's something that we really focus on. And then lastly, job placement services. Built into each one of our programs is job placement services. So we will work to place each one of our students in either a paid internship or a direct placement opportunity with the companies that we currently work with in our employer partner network. And those companies we'll talk a little bit more about in a future slide, but just to give you a preview, we work in places like LinkedIn, Symantec, Mozilla, and even Google. So to give you an overview of the next class, it's going to be beginning August 16th. As I mentioned before, there is a split. You could do either a morning cohort from 9 a.m. to 1 or an afternoon cohort from 2 p.m. to 6. The class will begin August 16th and it will run through December 10th. December 10th is scheduled to be the last day of class, in which case we hope to, by then, have already secured either a paid internship or a direct placement opportunity for every one of our students that we anticipate will last all at the minimum up to January 28th of next year. You'll see on the right who's eligible. We work with young adults ages 18 to 25. However, if you are a veteran or you're married to a veteran, there is no age limit at all. So during the course of the instructional training that we're going to be providing for the students free of cost, we also will be paying for certifications. So these are the 3 certifications that will be covered during our program. The first one being the Google IT Support Certificate. Then we move on to CompTIA's IT Fundamentals Plus certificate, which is a nice entry-level introduction into the IT world, followed by CompTIA's A Plus certificate, which is more advanced. It's a hardware-based certificate, so you learn a little bit more about, what the parts of the computer do to work together to complete processes. But more importantly, this is where a lot of our students are going to get introduced into more advanced topics that they may be interested in, things like cybersecurity, network analytics, data science even. The reason we chose those certificates is here. You'll notice on this screen the IT certification roadmap. On the far right-hand side are the different specializations that people can choose to focus on within the IT world, talking about software development, cloud computing, information security, or cybersecurity. And so if you notice on the far left-hand side, you'll see highlighted in yellow that CompTIA's ITF Plus and A Plus certifications are critical for each one of these paths. So they offer a great foundation for our students to be able to work off of and further their career by getting additional certifications if you follow along this path. So one of the things that really sets NPower apart from a number of other agencies is our engagement with our students after they're complete with the program. So the program itself is a total 23-week commitment, 16 weeks of classroom instruction, followed by, at the minimum, a 7-week paid internship. But we work with each one of our students for up to 3 years. So as long as the student remains in good standing with us, we will continually engage with them to provide them either additional advanced trainings like cybersecurity, cloud computing, or hopefully by the end of this year, we'll also have a Microsoft Azure program available for students in the Los Angeles area. But we also will continually work with them to provide job placement services post-graduation. So for instance, if a student were to take our class, they graduate, and we place them in a paid internship, let's say for a year with Dropbox. And after that year, they doesn't unfortunately materialize into a full-time position, and now they're back on the work hunt. They can give us a call. If they feel they want to get more additional training in, say, cybersecurity or the like, then we would be able to enroll them in that class, which again is absolutely free of cost, just like Tech Fundamentals. Sometimes a student may not want to go into additional training. They may just want to get right back to work, in which case they can continually engage with our placement team to be able to identify different roles for them to go towards within our employer partner network. And we will continually do this for the next 3 years upon graduation from our program. NPower is also registered as a cybersecurity support technician registered apprenticeship program with the Department of Labor as well. So students, once they enter our program, will begin earning credits towards their apprenticeship certification that will continue all the way through their initial internships and job placements post-graduation from the program. So these are just some of the results of what we do with some of our students. Typically 100% of the students that we usually work with are unemployed or underemployed. 80% of the students who graduate from who enroll in our programs will graduate. 85% technically is who we will find job placement services immediately after the class. So 85% of the students who graduate will immediately have either a paid internship or a direct placement opportunity. At the bottom of this screen, you'll notice that there are some examples of some of the positions that we're able to place our students in upon completion of each program. So on the far left-hand side, or the bottom left-hand side, is the Tech Fundamentals program. So you'll notice that we place our students in desktop analyst roles, help desk level 1, junior network administrator, even data center technician roles as well. And you'll see on the bottom too, there are the other advanced classes that we offer, and some of those roles that we placed our students in upon completion from those programs. At this point, I'm going to let Michaela take over to talk a little bit more about some of the social support services that are available for all of our students. So Michaela, please.
Yeah, sure. So we, here at NPower, we definitely understand that students have a life outside of the class. They may have jobs, busy work schedules, children that need caring for, or other responsibilities and obligations that may prove challenging in their everyday lives. We also understand that circumstances may change. So a student might come to us and not need support at the start of class, but face new challenges that arise as a class presses on. And so our social support managers are really here to help students navigate any challenges that they may face. That could be in the form of housing, if they are experiencing housing or food scarcity. It could be childcare. We do have, if they are located in the Santa Clara County area, we do have a free childcare option. If they need a laptop, we have loaner laptops we can send out. We also have mobile hotspots that we can send out to students. In some cases, they are covered cost by us at NPower. In other cases, they are just free, covered by one of our grant partners. We also offer some legal services, so we can help students navigate, particularly when it comes to veteran populations. That could be, changing your discharge status, things like that. And then, of course, referrals for mental health services, substance use. Those are all kinds of things that we will go over with the students. As a social support role, we are regulated under HIPAA guidelines. So all of our conversations with students are completely confidential. So students can feel safe sharing what it is that they are actually facing in their everyday life so that we can help them mitigate those challenges.
Great. Thank you, Michaela. So along with the social support services that we offer, we do offer placement services and professional development support. As I mentioned, each week, we dedicate one day per week to professional development. So these are just some of the examples of some of the workshops and some of the classes that we provide during those days. We usually will do an alumni panel. We'll have some former alumni of the program come and talk about their experience in the program, but also talk about what their careers look like afterwards. We do a lot of elevator pitch workshops. We help our students develop an elevator pitch to help better their networking skills whenever the pandemic lifts and everybody can start rubbing shoulders again. We want them to be able to be confident in, making those connections professionally speaking. We do a lot of resume workshops. We help them with their LinkedIn profile. We bring in a lot of guest speakers from different Bay Area companies to come and talk with the students as well. So we'll have hiring managers from some of our employer partners, to name a few, Symantec, Mozilla, LinkedIn. They will come and chat with our students about what they're looking for in the applicants for their positions, but also just what it's like to work in this industry. So we hope to provide some more context for each one of the students just to imagine themselves working in this industry and what it would be like. We'll even bring in CEOs from different Bay Area companies. The CEO and founder of Craigslist, Craig Newmark, is a big friend of the program. He's actually spoken to our class about 4 or 5 times in the last 4 or 5 classes. So we try to replicate this type of experience for each one of the students so they can get the most out of the professional development skills that we're providing. These are some of the placement partners that we're currently working with. I've talked about them a little bit throughout this presentation, but Splunk, Nutanix, PlayStation, even Google. We have one student working a year-long apprenticeship there. San Francisco Giants and their IT department. So anyways, just to emphasize, if you have an IT department, we want to get your students some of our students in those roles. So these are just, this list is ever expanding and changing, but we also have key regional partners. That is an even bigger list. So these are some of our supporters. These are organizations that either provide us grant money to be able to continually to continue to provide this program for free. Others will donate curriculum, like Cisco was a big partner of ours when we were teaching network analytics, so we were able to provide their curriculum for free. Same thing with Dropbox, same thing with Nutanix. So these are all partners that will provide us either funding for the program, funding, or like curriculum, or in just overall support. One initiative that we're really excited about and passionate about is the 40 by 22 initiative, and this is a partnership between NPower and Citigroup Financial, which basically is a dedication for NPower to devote up to 40% of our staff and 40% of our 40% of our student body to be comprised of young adult women by 2022. This is a deficiency that we've noticed in the tech industry, that there aren't enough women working in the button masher type roles that I like to call them. Instead, they work a lot in the periphery. They work in legal, they work in marketing, or they work in something that's not necessarily making the kind of money that they're capable of making by working in tech. And so this initiative is something that we're really passionate about, to try and encourage other companies to form similar initiatives to be able to, again, encourage these young adult women to consider tech as a career for them. These are just some of the students that we've worked with, some success stories we like to brag about. The top 2 there, Chantrell and Kyrie, both Navy veterans, never had any experience with IT or any kind of tech experience before coming to NPower. We were able to put them through our program, get them their certifications. And Chantrell, we have working as an IT specialist with the Department of Veterans Affairs here in Menlo Park. And Kyrie, we actually have working as a senior systems administrator for General Dynamics. At the very bottom, you'll see Alejandra. Alejandra was a young adult that came to us from a part-time management position with the Gap, and we were able to get her through our program with no experience. She was very successful. After her internship, she was offered a full-time position by that company and experienced up to 491% wage growth. So she went from $33,000 a year to $92,000 a year. Now, do want to offer a caveat here. Nobody can guarantee that everybody's going to experience that kind of wage growth. However, I can guarantee that those opportunities are available to every one of our trainees. So it's really up to them to be able to, devote the time that they need to those classes, to devote the time they need to their own professional growth, and then find that success. Applying to our program is very, very easy. You just go to our website, empower.org/apply. Once the application is complete, it would come to either Michaela or I, and we would be able to contact you to answer any additional questions and perform an initial phone screening, and then schedule you for further progress down the admissions process. This is our contact information, so we'll be sharing that with everybody at the end of this call. Yeah, I appreciate you letting me present all this, Leonie and Amelia, pardon me.
Yeah, thank you so much. And this is definitely one of those training providers that not only do they offer opportunities for training, but then there's also the supportive services to back it as well. This is amazing. It's just a wraparound service just to make sure that the not only is the veteran successful, but the family is successful as well if they're provided, like childcare and so forth. So this is great. Thank you so much for that information.
Mm-hmm.
What advice would you give to our vets when applying for training?
So one of the things that I typically will tell our trainees or candidates for the program is you really should take a hard look at the amount of time that you're able to devote to the program. So by that I mean we're asking for a total 23-week commitment at the minimum. By that I mean there's a 16-week training course or actual classroom instruction that'll run Monday through Friday, at least 4 hours a day. And by at least, I mean there will be actual 4 hours of classroom instruction because this is delivered live through Zoom. And then an additional 1 to 2 hours, depending on the student, of study time for homework and quizzes. So with that, about 10 hours a week at the minimum, we suggest for devotion outside of the classroom instruction part of the week. So with that in mind, that's a big chunk of your day. And we want to make sure that you have that amount of time available to devote to the program, because this is not an easy class by any measure. So with that in mind, it's going to take some time for our students to be able to study adequately, but we do provide them the support. We do have an instructor, an assistant instructor that can provide that live lecture experience, but also be able to provide them tutoring services if needed. So just to make a long story short, it's really just about what kind of time that the person has to devote. When it comes to whether or not they actually think IT is right for them or tech is right for them, it's okay if it's not. I mean, our program is great for just contextual awareness of what the industry it has to them or has to provide. We have plenty of students that have come through our class that don't end up working in IT for whatever reason. And the whole point of our program is to provide them with, what kinds of examples of what their life may look like in the tech space. And if that means that maybe tech isn't right for them, we do everything we can to support that. So with that in mind, in terms of whether or not they're able or interested in the field, even a passing interest is okay, as long as they have the time to devote to it, because we can work with all of that.
That's
Wow.
pretty amazing. You guys are extremely flexible, and I've yet to see a whole lot of training providers that would be this flexible, especially with our community. So thank you so much for that answer.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, the fact that you guys are open to people coming in with not much knowledge is amazing. I haven't seen that in tech training, so excited about that for sure. But with that, what would you all say makes NPower different from other vocational training agencies?
Yeah, I can take this one. I would say that what makes us different really is that we offer both job placement services and the wraparound social support, and that we do so for up to 3 years upon graduation. So if you get into an internship with Google and it doesn't turn into a full-time hire, you can come back to us and we'll work to place you into another position. As an alumni, you also have the ability to take some of our higher level courses like cloud computing and cybersecurity, and once you graduate, that 3-year clock resets. So at the end of your 3 years, technically you could decide to come back and take a cybersecurity course with us and then reset that 3-year clock at that time. So I would definitely say that the kind of support that we offer just isn't often found in many programs like ours. A lot of what we can do too from the social support side is work with your schedule. So if you can, attend class only 3 days out of the week and maybe not the other two, there may be options where you can take the morning class on some days and the evening class on the other days. There's a lot of flexibility that we can provide depending on each unique case.
That's awesome. Thanks, Michaela.
Yeah, that is really cool. Did you wanted to add anything in, Corey, or no, with that question?
No, I think she was very thorough.
Awesome. How does someone sign up for NPower to get started?
Yeah, so the application process is really easy. I'm going to go ahead and pull up this slide one more time just so I can show go while I talk here. So the application can be completed online through our website, npower.org/apply. I would ask that you be aware of what program you are applying towards, because we do have many other regions throughout the country. So we want to make sure that you are applying for the Tech Fundamentals program in San Jose, California. That offers another something that we should mention too, is that the program is virtual. You do not need to live in San Jose to take advantage of this program. One of the things that we tell our students is that as long as you are within a 2-hour commute of the Bay Area, we can work with you. And in some cases, even farther outside that, if we have an employer partner that we are able to connect our students with at the tail end of the program, we've worked with people as far down south as San Diego. So it really just depends on the student, and also depends on the employment partner. But the application process is easy. They fill out the application on our website. Once that is done, it comes to myself or Michaela's desk. We review it and we contact the applicant for any questions. We do an initial phone screen to talk about the program. But then we will, at that point, schedule an interview with either myself or Michaela through Zoom. Once that is completed, then we also schedule a second interview for a social support intake, which basically will be a chance for Michaela or our colleague Emily to be able to go over with the student any kind of obstacles that they're facing throughout their time with us, and any ways that they can try and mitigate those obstacles so they can focus entirely to the class. Once that is done, we notify the student about whether or not they've been accepted, or if we have a seat in the class for them, in which case we continually engage with the student, or with the trainee rather, up until the class starts. And as I mentioned before, this particular class will begin August 16th.
Yeah, that's just right around the corner too.
45 days.
Yeah, thank you so much. We're hoping that we can get a lot of people to view this video, and then hopefully they'll start applying for this opportunity. So thank you so much for that.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. And you kind of already went over this a little bit as far as where NPower operates, but it sounds like you guys are a little bit flexible as far as, like, let's say, what if we had somebody that was interested that is living out in the valley? So it's one of those like case by case things, right? Do you guys like adjust to that? Like, let's say we have somebody in Modesto that would like to enroll with y'all. How would that be taken care of?
So because the class is virtual, we can accommodate pretty far. The only reason that we ask for a 2-hour commute or a 150-mile radius is because the job placement services that we provide for our students will generally be centered here in the Bay Area. And for that case, if that employer decides they want to go back to on-site, we don't want our student to be burdened too much by having to commute from, say, Fresno to San Francisco. That's over 3 hours, and that's just unreasonable for that student. So what we'll do is the placement team will work with each individual student to kind of find the best placement for them. So a lot of times, if we are able to have a employer partner that may have a subsidiary office in their city, in that student's city, then that's where we're going to try and focus our efforts to get that student placed. The big thing that we want to focus on is making sure that every one of our students has that opportunity, not just to get training, social support services, and professional development services, but work experience, because that could be the biggest help for people trying to break into the industry. You can have a bunch of you can have a bunch of certifications and a lot of training, but if you can't point to your resume as to where you actually applied that training, it can be very difficult. So that's why we really focus on making sure that our trainees are going to have some way to get valuable work experience on their resume, and which is why we offer that 2 hour commute. If it's past that, it's really just a matter of making sure that we have a employment partner that is nearby that training, so we don't have to burden them with like a 3 hour commute. I hope that answered your question.
It does. Thank you. Just the fact that you guys are willing to try to make the effort to see what it is that you
Absolutely.
can do for some of our student veterans out this way. I mean, that's really cool. And just again, as Naomi mentioned, just excited to tell the veterans that we work with about this program and see what we can get them help with getting started on. So thank you, Corey.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool. So that pretty much takes us to the portion for Q&A. I did get some questions from through email. The first one was, can they apply over the phone if the veterans don't have a computer?
So unfortunately, no. They would actually need to fill out the application on our website. Now, if they don't have a laptop, that typically isn't that big of an issue, because once they're accepted into the program, we can actually provide them with the laptop that they'll be able to use throughout the duration of the program, but also their internship if they need that. But unfortunately, they would have to figure out a way to, borrow a computer or something to be able to fill out that application, because to get the process started, they need to apply on our website.
If
It
they
can
have,
be completed through the phone, by the way. Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
was just going to say, yeah.
Like through like mobile, I meant, not like over the phone, but like mobile. You can fill out the application on our website through your mobile device.
Right, through like the smartphones and
Yeah.
the tablets, right? Okay. So I wanted to expand a little bit on the internship program. There was a question regarding the internship. Is it possible, because you did bring up a very good and very interesting point, which was you can have, every certification out there in the IT, but if you don't have the professional experience, it can be very difficult.
Mhm.
Now, if we did have some veterans that already have the certification, would they be able to work with NPower to get them into an internship and possibly seek further certification for things that are missing? Would that be something that you guys would be able to offer?
To make sure I understand the question, you're asking if this particular person already has ITF or CompTIA's ITF Plus and A Plus certifications. Would they still be able to participate with the class?
Yes.
Okay.
Or just
So
maybe the internship process.
So typically, if we are able to accept a student, they would have to participate in all aspects of the program. The reason for that is we operate through grants and donations from different companies and different financial institutions, the Department of Labor also, and they have certain requirements that we have to fill when it comes to the students that we're able to work with. So with that in mind, we have to make sure that we can provide them with, professional development training, which it sounds like this particular training you would be very interested in. But we would also have to provide them the instructional and the instructional certification. So A plus, ITF plus, Google IT certificate would be something that we would have to provide to them along with the job placement services. Now, that's not to say that this person wouldn't necessarily be able to participate in our program and be counted among like the class as a student or as a trainee. I would recommend that if anybody has any specific questions like that, there are always ways that we can help. If we can't help you as part of the class, then we are happy to connect you with people who can. And I would encourage them to contact myself or Michaela directly, and we would be able to kind of go over each and every person's, individual circumstance to figure out, ways that we can assist them. We also have those advanced trainings. So that's also another reason why people like to take our Tech Fundamentals program, is because it provides them that opportunity to go towards the advanced classes, because those classes are only available for Tech Fundamentals alumni. So in order to take cybersecurity or cloud computing, they would have to be an alumni of Tech Fundamentals, in which case we would want to make sure that if this particular student is interested in that, I'm sure we can find a solution that would work for him.
Yeah, I could see why now, because you know they could have taken the CompTIA A plus back in, I guess, maybe 2010,
Hmm.
and I believe those expire what every after
Exactly.
3 years or something. So
Yeah.
that makes perfect sense. Now a follow-up question to that, you had mentioned some supportive services. Um, uh, how what would be the flexibility for a candidate to apply for your program with a criminal history?
Mhm. That's a good question too. So there's always ways to work around certain things like that. Mainly, it really depends upon the offense. If it has anything to do with like computer fraud, that can be quite difficult. The issue isn't working with NPower because NPower, we want to work with anybody that we can to help, better their circumstance. The real issue is the companies that we would then place them with. Sometimes those companies do have pretty stringent criminal background, what do you call it, like investigations. They research everybody's background differently. Each company has different guidelines to how they do it. If it's a cybersecurity company, say like Palo Alto Networks or Fortinet, they may be a little bit more strict as to the criminal history background of one of our students. But then, like I said, any company needs an IT department, and so Safeway may not have as strict a guidelines in regards to backgrounds like that. So that's something that I always encourage all of our students. If you do have some kind of a compromised criminal justice history, then you can work with our placement team to try and identify roles that aren't going to put you in that kind of position. We don't want to set up our students to fail. That's the last thing we really want to do. So it really just matters if it's like a violent offense or if it's like a DUI, those kinds of things. Typically, as long as they are working to maybe get their offense downgraded or expunged or something like that, then we can work with them to try and find a partner that is willing to accommodate in that way. It really depends on the student. I wish I could provide like a blanket answer, but it really depends on each and every trainee and then with their individual circumstance. This is also where the relationship with the social support manager is pretty critical as well. Because as Michaela mentioned, we are covered under HIPAA privacy laws. So anytime that they discuss anything with the social support manager, it's going to be private between them. They're not allowed to share any information with myself or anyone else in the program without that trainee's written consent. So if it has anything to do with their criminal background, if they don't want us to know about it, that's their prerogative. But we do encourage them to be as open and as honest as they're comfortable being, because we, again, don't want to set them up to fail by placing them with an employment partner, who then is going to run a background check, and all of a sudden it's going to be really difficult for that candidate to move forward.
Okay, that makes perfect sense. Another question that I got as well too was 2020 was definitely one of those, for our generation, a very rare shutdown for the entire world. So now let's just say that they had attended the program, they've been accepted, and they're going through the process of the training.
Mhm.
In an event like 2020, what will be an impact for that student while they're attending your program? What will be the majority or the main impact for them to continue the training?
So it's interesting that you bring that up, because we actually started off as a on-site program, period. We never did online training until the pandemic hit. So once the pandemic hit, we were right in the middle of a class, and we had to kind of scramble to figure out, okay, well, California shut down. We can't have everybody showing up to a classroom anymore. They're halfway through the class. We don't want them to have to start over from the very beginning. So literally in the course of a weekend, we figured out how we can move everything from a live lecture model into a virtual model, but still retain that live lecture component. That's why we have it arranged for the morning or the afternoon class, to try and accommodate students that may, some of our students are already attending college classes, some of them have part-time jobs. So the idea is that, we are very flexible, absolutely, for the circumstances. That's one of the reasons why the relationship with the social support manager is so critical, because if something arises in that trainee's life outside of the classroom, and they're not going to be able to attend, the social support manager has that ability to connect with them and try and come up with solutions that are best going to benefit that student. If that means that the student's not able to continue with the class, we want to do what's best for them. They're always welcome back to apply for our next course. For the most part, we already know who they are. We're not going to put them through the admissions process. We're not going to interview them again. It's really just a way of saying, like, look, we know that life happens for a lot of people, and nobody's going to be able to forecast the future, and what's going to happen tomorrow might be, something that will prevent a student from moving forward. And that's why, people like Michaela and our colleague Emily are so critical to what we do, because if they didn't have that ability to partner with that student, figure out what's best for them, and then make those accommodations if we can, then a lot of our students wouldn't be able to continue in the class just because of their life. Just so that's something Michaela and Emily are very, very great at what they do to be able to provide that for our students. And I feel like I talked a lot, Michaela. I think you can probably expunge a little bit more on that than I can. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. I mean, I don't have, too much to add. I guess I could speak a little bit to the kinds of challenges I've personally seen because of the pandemic. One of the biggest ones is simply that the time commitment of this class gets to be too much. In the beginning, it depends on what the circumstance is. If it's, like perhaps an older married veteran, they might be in a home where one can support the other while they attend the class, right? And in that case, we don't see as many problems. But if you are, a young adult, you're living with roommates, you've got car payments and all kinds of stuff, you unless you can find a part-time job that you can pick your hours, like if you're doing DoorDash or something like that, sometimes we've had students that simply can't attend. And depending on where they're at in the class, we've been able to make accommodations like no longer attending the class sessions and working one-on-one with our instructors, to complete certification requirements or whatever it is, as long, depending on where they're at in the class. But there's a lot to be said about the kinds of things that we're able to work with students in order to help them complete the program.
Wow, that is amazing. A one-on-one opportunity with the instructor. Like, I kind of want to jump on board now. This is amazing, you guys.
Yeah.
Like, this is definitely like a wraparound everything. Just it's all geared towards success. But this is really amazing. That's all the questions I have from the emails that I've received. Did you have any additional, Amelia, that you would like to add?
No, not at the moment. Thank you guys, though. I mean, some great information, and just it's very heartening to hear how hard it is that you guys work with the participants in the program. I'm really excited to share this information and just get it out there and hopefully get some veterans enrolled with you.
That'd be great. Thank you
Yeah.
so much for the opportunity to speak to everybody. Really appreciate the engagement and being able to present our program. It really is like colleagues like you that help spread the word. So we really do appreciate all the hard work that you do and everything that you guys do with your client base and everything. So again, thanks for the invitation. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to go ahead and end the recording. Don't leave the session just yet. I have some information I'd like to share with you guys. But I'll go ahead and end the recording. Thank you everybody for watching the video. Let us know if you have any questions, and then we'll do our best to answer. And I'm also going to offer your contact information, Michaela and Corey,
Absolutely.
within the email as well too. Again, thank you so much for doing this with us. This is an amazing opportunity, a very high paying opportunity, might I add, especially in a Silicon Valley. So I might join in. But anyways, thank you so much. And we'll see you guys soon.